up, guys? Thomas Mott here. Welcome to Thomas Mott Show on a Friday night. The draft are starting to kind of slide away as Philadelphia has gotten 2 third-round draft picks. They traded out of the second round. Let's break down the 2 guys they went ahead and grabbed here who I think are interesting, but it's more of a trusting Howie situation because these are not some of the bigger names you were expecting, like a Keely Ringo or a Brian Branch or an Osiris Torrance or even a Marvin Mims, all guys who went ahead or even who haven't gone yet, depending on this point when you're watching this show. But it is interesting for Philadelphia, and we're going to break it down for you. First off, you notice I'm not normally in a suit, right? Just got back from a wedding, so I didn't get to watch the draft on ESPN. I was using the draft app, I was using a lot of Twitter, and then watching on a little tiny TV in the corner. I think it was the NFL Network as well. So we got to watch, but let's go ahead and break down what Philadelphia did. First off, the trade here with the Houston Texans made a lot of sense. I mean, you knew how he wanted to get some later round picks here just to get some bodies in there, and you never know. Can you pop on a 5th round draft pick or a 6th round draft pick or a 7th round draft pick? We wouldn't have known because Philadelphia didn't really have any of those. And while number 65 and then, of course, 188 and 230 are later round selections, they still make a lot of sense for Philadelphia to at least get a 6th round draft pick and then 3 7ths. Expect more trades for the Eagles, though, especially as we get into round 4, 5, and 6, 7 tomorrow as well. A lot of rounds are going to go ahead and take place. So I know nothing wrong with this. I really wanted Marvin Mims, Keely Ringo, or Darnell Washington, but Philadelphia had other plans, and that other plan starts with the tackle at number 65 and Tyler Steen. Now, you knew that Philadelphia was eventually going to go ahead and get an offensive lineman. I mean, this was predicted as early as January of last year. You said, okay, in the 2023 draft, they're going to take an offensive lineman because they always take offensive linemen, and while they did the smart thing and passed on Peter Skoronski, they didn't worry about getting Paris Johnson. They left Broderick Jones and the rest of these offensive linemen in the first round alone and went with their smart move of getting defensive line. They still needed to get a prospect to bring in and give you some depth just in case, heaven forbid, something were to happen. Now, when you look at a guy like Tyler Steen, he's very interesting, and Bleeding Green Nation has a write-up here on his ability to play both guard and tackle, and that seems to be a focus for the Eagles going into this upcoming training camp. So, quote, Steen has experience playing both at right tackle and left tackle, but the team officially announced him as a guard. It's never a surprise when the Birds draft offensive linemen. They strongly believe in fortifying the trenches. Steen could potentially compete with Cam Jurgens for the starting job at right guard. Steen could also serve as a swing tackle with Andre Dillard leaving to join the Tennessee Titans. Steen is hardly considered to be a finished project. The Eagles will be leaning on highly regarded run game offensive coordinator lineman Jeff Stoutland to get the best out of their new blocker in the National Football League. Now, all of that is very, very true. Steen is massive, though. That's one thing to take note here. He is very, very similar in size to Landon Dickerson, and the fact they announced him as a guard makes a ton of sense because they are going to open up some competition at guard. But because he played tackle, most notably at Alabama, most mainly at Alabama, you have the protection from injury that I think the Eagles were interested in. Every single person who talks about the Philadelphia Eagles will say the following line that I'm about to mention, and that is, put him through Stoutland University, give him 2 or 3 years, and we'll see what he becomes. But he does give you some assurance. That way, if the worst were to happen, you're safe and protected to at least have a decent starter who played in the SEC as a backup, either swing tackle, left tackle, or, of course, at guard. Now, when you go ahead and think about going forward, I still think Cam Jurgens is going to win the right guard spot. I think he's going to be just fine. But at least the Eagles decided it was smarter to go tackle earlier, a.k.a. end of the second round, early third round, versus waiting till the 7th round to get one and someone who might be a little bit more of a project. Because, shockingly, not everybody is Jordan Mailata. So I like the pick. It's not sexy. Offensive linemen are never sexy, even when you take them at the 6th overall draft pick. You don't talk about really the linemen until they become studs. Think Lane Johnson with the 4th overall draft pick way back in the day. But this is very good assurance for Philadelphia and a very necessary pick, especially after they went ahead and took the perfect first-round combo of Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith. So give me your thoughts on Tyler Steen at 65. Was there somebody else you wanted? I really wanted Mims. I was interested in Darnell Washington. Obviously, Keely Ringo, but alas, back in the SEC, Philadelphia seriously has a kick for these guys, and I honestly, rightfully so, because you're playing in the best conference in college football. Okay, over here to the more, we're going to call it fun, but very interesting, and that is Sidney Brown at 66. Bleeding Green Nation has a write-up here, and it's very, very interesting. Quote, the 23-year-old Brown comes to the Eagles with a chance to compete for a role in a defense, in addition to playing on special teams. Eagles lost both their starting safeties, blah, 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 in free agency, and they didn't exactly replace them with any surefire options. They did sign Terrell Edmonds, Justin Evans to 1-year deals. The Eagles also have Reed Blankenship, Kayvon Wallace, Andre Chachere, blah, blah, blah. Now, here's the scouting report from Lance Zierlein, NFL.com, on Sidney Brown. A physical safety who is limited by a lack of fluidity in space. Brown has straight line speed, very effective mapping his transit to the ball carrier near the line of scrimmage. However, he misses tackles. His missed tackles are concerning considering the position he plays. He competes hard in man coverage, using everything at his disposal to prevent tight ends from making plays, but above average pass catchers could be too much for him to handle as a pro. Brown will need to prove he can win in the box and shine on special teams to stick around in the league, end quote. Now, he was more of a fourth-round guy. I think a lot of people, and same will go for Tyler Steen. I heard Ray Dinger said Steen was a fourth-round guy in his draft board, but you see the thought process here. Let's at least have some assurance in case Edmonds doesn't work out, in case Justin Evans doesn't work out, in case Blankenship struggles, or Kayvon Wallace, Andre Chachere. They are trying to put bodies at the safety position and find the best two. They don't value safety. They really never have. When you go back to Brian Dawkins, they eventually let him go. And then the same thing goes for C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Malcolm Jenkins. They like safety. They don't love safety. It's not as unlikable for Howie Roseman as linebacker is because he never puts a lot of draft capital into that, but I'd say it's very close second. So I think this is a body pick to add depth to a situation where you don't want to be terrible this year, but you have a really good defensive line, you have a really good secondary in terms of the corners on the outside, and you feel confident enough in your ability to defend people that way. And hey, if you hit on somebody special here, you hit on somebody special here, but the odds are Philadelphia is going to not start this guy and probably get to a point where they will hopefully be able to utilize him in the future. For sure, special teams, but he definitely has a long way to go. So let me know what you guys think. I think it's very interesting to see what Philadelphia is going to do here going into the final day. They really only have a couple more needs. You would think running back at some point, although by the time the Eagles pick again, way back in the 6th round, what running backs will be available. Maybe a trade could happen. There are obviously trade candidates that we talked about in the past. DeAndre Swift, Derrick Henry, maybe even an Austin Eckler. I think a lot of people are high on Austin Eckler, but no news there. Budda Baker as well, although you would think that the Sidney Brown drafting would kind of put some water on the Budda Baker trade option just because would you get another safety to bring in with another safety? Who knows? But tomorrow is going to be interesting to see where they want to plug these holes. My guess would be more line depth. I would not be shocked if they get another pass rusher. I would not be shocked if they draft another offensive lineman because those guys, they seemingly build very, very well at either Stoutland University or on the defensive line. And right now, you have a luxury to not need a lot of big, giant holes, and you can expect to not really plug them in the 7th round either way. So overall, I think this is solid. Now, I think it's a little bit underwhelming because there are some names that we thought would be a little bit interesting and a little more fun, if you would say, for Philadelphia. Obviously, the UCLA running back going 52 to the Seattle Seahawks, that was expected, although I really was interested in him. Osiris Torrance, I think, very much could have been an Eagle had he fallen. That felt like a Jeff Stoutland draft pick. You wonder if Philadelphia could have moved up to get him, but obviously they didn't like him enough to even have to worry about it. And then Marvin Mims. Listen, they don't need a wide receiver, but Marvin Mims, I think, could have at least been an interesting option in this Eagle offense if you really wanted it. But they feel confident in Olamide Zaccheaus, and I guess I will too at the same time. Other interesting picks here. Hendon Hooker went to the Lions at 68. He's only 2 years younger than Jared Goff. Kendry Miller went 71 to the Saints, the TCU running back. So the Eagles had some chances to get running backs if they really wanted them and decided to not really do it in the end. You see, A-Shane went to the went to the Miami Dolphins, obviously coming out of A&M. And that kind of rounded out your running back besides Tank Bigsby going 88 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it really does seem like if they want to address the running back spot, it's going to be undrafted free agent guys, elevating Trey Sermon, running with the guys they have, or making a trade tomorrow or the week after or whatever it is. So stay tuned for that. We'll keep you covered if something were to happen. I will not be doing all my shows in a suit. Again, I got back from a wedding, and so this is the look whenever you get back from a wedding. Before we go ahead and finish up, I do want to mention, I forgot to grab this. The Philly hats from thephillyhat.com. They are selling out. I mean, I only have I think 15 of each left. I mean, they've been going like crazy. If you've not picked up the green's going really fast. A lot of blacks in stock versus the green. My first launch here in terms of the 3D puff print. Local embroiderer. Pick them up at the link down below in the description box. They are going very, very quickly, and it is a very, very limited stock. So, again, what you guys think about the Eagles' third round draft picks and trading back, and we'll read all the comments and see where you guys are at. I'm Thomas Mott. Very late on a Friday. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.